Many players drafted in the 2000s decade have been retired, and many more will follow within the next couple years. The most recent vet to announce their retirement, Marvin Williams, enjoyed a long 15-year career. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Today, we'll take a look at 20 NBA players whose career might already be over, the ones who haven't officially announced their retirement as of mid-October 2020. Starting with Chandler Parsons, whose career was in jeopardy after being involved in a serious car accident back in January. His max contract of $94 million finally done with, couldn't stay healthy after signing the deal. Now a free agent, 31 years old and out the league, played 5 games with the Hawks, will sadly go down as perhaps the worst contract in NBA history, having a tough couple years. Once upon a time, he was extremely athletic and promising. No update on his recovery. Crabbe, another player who fell off after a lucrative deal, still only 28 years old. Believe it or not, I predict he'll try for multiple comeback attempts the next 7 years. Did not last with the Hawks or Wolves, 2 of the worst teams. If Minnesota waives him, a terrible sign, a non-factor. Jeremy Lin, absolute roller coaster ride, the glory insanity days long gone, looking for another shot. The 32-year-old hasn't been impactful, sat on the bench to get a ring with Toronto. More of a scoring point guard, not the best shooter, and not much of a playmaker. Many teams shines away from his play style. An injury with the Nets, a painful dagger. After averaging over 22 in China, Lin will not call it quits and continue to fight for a roster spot. Maybe he will have one more opportunity, but now looking like 50-50. Jamal Crawford, the 40-year-old played briefly with the Nets, only got signed because of the injuries. The type of hoop junkie who will play basketball every day until he's 80. Yes, he's that in love with the game. It appeared the 51-point game with Phoenix in 2019 seemed to be his last. The only way I see him getting signed if a contender has a spot for a good veteran off the bench. Within the next 2 years, Crawford likely won't retire that easily. Will go down as one of the most memorable 6-man, likely wouldn't play more than 5 minutes off the bench. Tyson Chandler, open-minded about returning for a 20th season, didn't play much for Houston. The 38-year-old will still have some time to make his decision, but it's evident he won't play much and likely could have walked away after 2019. Nonetheless, a good career, a guy that redeemed himself after being labeled a bust. If any team signs him, it'll just be his presence giving advice to the young guys. Joakim Noah, a non-factor for the 2020 playoff pathetic Clippers. The team waited forever to sign him, only to end up making zero impact. Perhaps he could have been pesky and helped guard Jokic instead of seeing teammates Zubac and Harrell get destroyed and abused. The 35-year-old only played 5 games with LAC. The latter part of his career has been a nightmare, going from MVP candidate to a terrible role player. Still a year left on his contract with LA. They might just release him. At least he'll be collecting paychecks from the Knicks till 2022. Not a bad way to end his career, ripping off a terrible team. I see him getting released. Maybe someone else will sign him and he'll chill on the bench a little longer. Dudley, who talks a lot for somebody who spends over 95% on the bench, provided useful leadership for the Lakers and got things under control behind the scenes. Useful, chirping at the other team since his play can't back it up. Pretty much the messenger. Hasn't averaged double digits since 2013, ending his career with a ring, a memorable way to be remembered. I'd be shocked if Dudley's still in the NBA in 2021. J.R. Smith didn't do anything for the Lakers, got a free ring under the expense of LBJ and AD, just there for the ride. Another shirtless moment, 6 regular season games since the bubble. Smith wouldn't get more than 15 minutes for any team right now. His outside shots rusty, doesn't have the legs, doesn't seem to be in full basketball shape. If Avery Bradley opted to play in the bubble, Smith would not have been signed. If he was somewhat impactful, he wouldn't have been out of the league for over a year. His 2020 season with the Lakers, similar to how Adam Morrison got his second ring in 2010. Anthony Tolliver, the 35-year-old picked up by Memphis for injury replacement purposes, made no impact with Sacramento, will get nothing more than a vet minimum if signed, which leans towards 50-50. The 11-year journeyman played for 10 different teams, 1/3 of the entire NBA. His 10-day contract on March 2nd, the longest in NBA history, which lasted till June 23rd, where he was signed for the remainder of the season. Proven to be able to make threes, I'm leaning towards 70-30 for his return, but after 2021, he'll surely be out of the league. Korver, he said he wanted to play one last season in 2019, but might change his mind again. The 39-year-old has been able to sustain a useful role off the bench, played over first 16 minutes only to knock down threes, still deadly from outside. A restricted free agent, his lack of speed and poor defense has been shown the last few years, but still hasn't won a title. Perhaps he might want to give it one last shot. If he stays with the Bucks, they'll have a roster spot secure for him, but only time will tell. Udonis Haslem, who was expected to retire for like the 5th time, his leadership and presence makes him the closest thing to a player coach because of the positive attitude, being from Miami, doing a lot for his community with a close relationship amongst Pat Riley and Spoelstra. UD can still have a roster spot until 45 years old if he wanted. Now 40, anybody with his basketball talents would have been out the league in their early 30s. Hasn't averaged more than 8 points a game since 2011. Many G League players are way better than him now, making countless speeches in the huddles. His role certainly helped the 2020 Heat in a good way. If the franchise lands a superstar in 2021, UD can perhaps walk away with another ring. He can announce his retirement within a week or not till 2022. Pau Gasol, desperately trying to come back, his body keeps saying no. As the clock keeps ticking, Gasol's supposed to decide whether he will continue balling or not. We should have an answer before the end of 2020. The future Hall of Famer could have retired 2 years ago, recovering from left foot surgery he suffered in 2019. The healing simply takes forever at his age. Signed with the Blazers only to get waived, hoping to end his career joining Spain one last time for the Tokyo Olympics. There's only a few players in NBA history to have played as much basketball in their careers. Combined with being on Team Spain, playing many summers for his country too, the power forward should be the next Laker to have their jersey number retired. Joe Johnson, 39 years old, injury for the Pistons and cut, still not giving up and working hard. Playing overseas also an option. Still have that hunger, staying in shape, open to all opportunities. Last suited up in the 2018 playoffs, has a 50% probability to make the Hall of Fame. Thabo Sefolosha played 41 games with the Rockets, 36 and counting. 2020 very well could have been his last season. Sat out in the restart, averaged just 3.8 points and 2.2 points the last 2 seasons. Known for his Thunder years, a role player for all his career. Courtney Lee, the Knicks should have traded him in 2017 or 18 when he was still draining threes, but ended up in the Porzingis deal. The 35-year-old barely played for Dallas, from averaging a dozen points in 2018, his last good year, to being a bench warmer who barely plays, a free agent. Maybe he'll get picked up for a minimum. If not signed, will be an intriguing name during the 2021 deadline. Didn't play in the 2020 postseason. Same age as J.R. Smith, both now produce similar results at the latter stages of their careers. DeMarre Carroll, the San Antonio Spurs made an absolute travesty of a decision, signing him to get rid of Davis Bertans. Part of a sign and trade from Brooklyn to San Antonio, was dreadful on the floor, still getting paid till 2022 when the Spurs bought him out. The 34-year-old wasn't helpful with the Rockets whatsoever. I doubt anybody signs him from this point forward, will likely call it a career a year or two. Brewer, the 34-year-old played just 5 games with the Kings, never became the player he was supposed to be, made over $52 million for his career, listed at 6'9", 186 pounds, super thin and light for that weight, almost doesn't seem to make sense being that tall, weighing under 190. Played for 8 different teams, hasn't made much of an impact since the 2016 season with Houston. His time should be up. Luba Mute, Houston picked him up briefly, wasn't the right fit and barely played anyway. 3 games the 2020 season, a substitute player for Sefolosha, one old vet to another. Before that, his career appeared to have already been over when waived in 2019 by the Clippers. 34 years old, I don't believe any team will sign him, which will lead to his retirement pretty soon. Nene, who never made anything official, the 38-year-old didn't play a single game last season, thought about retirement, but decided to come back to Houston only to be part of the Capella trade, sending him to Atlanta only to get waived by the Hawks. If a bad team doesn't want him, nobody does. The 6'11" center has had a good career. The last man standing in the 2002 draft class, could have been helpful for the centerless Rockets if he was his 2018 self, but already a show of himself in 2019. I'd be extremely shocked if he plays another NBA game. CJ Miles, waived by the Wizards in January, the 33-year-old averaged 6.5 points, played 10 games, underwent shoulder wrist surgery, haven't heard about him since, already falling off in 2019, averaged double figures in 2018. Honorable mentions includes Gerald Green, who was waived by the Nuggets after suffering a big injury before the start of the 2020 season with Houston, but still a solid piece, should have some basketball left. Pau Gasol, rumors going to finish his career in Europe, never confirmed, 35 years old, a free agent, might play another season. I also believe JJ Barea will be back, so will Trevor Ariza and Andre Iguodala, who will be making a ridiculous $15 million next season and a team option for 2022. What other players do you think their careers might be over? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe for more content, more good stuff coming soon. I love all of you. See you next time.